Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. The Chosen One community transmission has now arrived, or the Chosen One update community transmission to be more specific. And while you're watching this video, I am most likely up in the air traveling to San Francisco. But I appreciate that I got these details ahead of time so that I could prepare this video. So this is a quite lengthy community transmission with a lot of juicy details. Obviously some of it we already know in regards to the clone battalions, to Anakin Skywalker and so on, but we do have the stun and balancing among some other really cool stuff here that I wanted to talk about. So let's dive straight into it. So first of all, like I mentioned, they go through here that you will be getting the 501st Battalion, the Coruscant Guard, as well as of course Anakin Skywalker and the entire Clone Trooper armor rework, including the armored officers. I've already talked about those community transmissions in the respective videos, so if you want some more in-depth stuff regarding Anakin or the Clone Troopers, you can check out those other two videos on my channel. But if we then move on to the first kind of new thing that this includes, we have the Emote Wheel. Emotes have always been a fun addition to the game, and we've all seen how much you enjoy Hello there. Fun aside, they can also be useful social mechanic in order to quickly communicate with your squad and nearby players. The inclusion of a new Emote Wheel with the ability to contain up to 8 emotes will allow you to better communicate with your team. That was actually also covered in its separate community transmission, where we got a preview of how the emote wheel will actually look in the game, and hopefully that will also be showcased in the community update video. And then we get to the very interesting stuff, stuns. So one piece of feedback we've been reading is in relation to the stuns that can be applied during combat. We agree that some of these stuns are too long and have made some adjustments accordingly. Starting with Emperor Palpatine, we will be lowering the stun duration of its lightning stun from 1.6 to 1 second. Phasma's turret will have its stun duration lowered from 1 second to 0.8, and Lando's stun grenade will have its effect reduced from 1.4 to 1 second. In addition to this, they will also be implementing a stun immunity to all hero abilities for 3.5 seconds, specifically when being stunned by either Phasma, Iden, Chewbacca, Palpatine or Lando. What this means is that should you be stunned by one of the listed heroes above, you will not be able to be stunned again for 3.5 seconds. So that does sound fantastic to me, as there's nothing more frustrating than getting Chewbacca throwing a grenade at you, stunning you, and then right after Lando stuns you and you will die from full health and have 0 chance to fight back. I'm still not a huge fan of how these stuns work overall, because it still means you can stun someone and basically spam them in the head for 1 second, as compared to something like Dooku's stun that throws you to the ground. And yes, it's bugged where you can shoot while you're on the ground, but the main thing is that you are in a constant movement, which means that you can't just shoot them in the head 15 times over. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of these stuns overall. But it does 100% sound like it's going to be a lot less annoying now, which is the important part. And then we get to the actual release notes. First of all, they are of course mentioning Anakin Skywalker, the Clone Troopers, the Clone Trooper rework, and the Emote Wheel, all of which we already know about, as well as the stuns that I just mentioned, including the stun immunity. But then we get to some new stuff. Inspired by Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, if Yoda uses Unleash right after absorbing Count Dooku's lightning stun attack, Yoda will be able to project lightning back to enemies. I so want to see this in action. It sounds amazing. I don't know how well this is gonna work, because it sounds like the kind of stuff that probably is rather likely to have bugs, but my god, if they actually make that work properly, that is going to be so epic. Especially if Yoda actually, like, imagine if you block the force lightning and then you actually shoot it back at enemies, so you will technically kill enemies with the force lightning. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. I mean, you will still be using the Unleash, so I wonder if that damage will stack, or you'll have the Unleash damage plus lightning stun damage. That would be pretty strong actually. And then they fixed an issue where lightsaber users would not take damage from enemies' first lightsaber attack while regenerating health. And they fixed an animation issue where heroes would occasionally get stuck in map geometry when performing the dash movement over an edge. They fixed an issue where the stamina bar would occasionally be wrongly displayed due to server latency. The stamina bar no longer shows up or gets drained when the player has not managed to block in time. Lightsaber heroes can now damage enemy turrets. I didn't actually know this was a problem, but good, I guess. And they fixed an issue that would allow players to spawn with both heroes and vehicles in a map. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but oh well, more bug fixes. Fixed an issue where heroes would still deflect blaster shots during their defeat animation if they were defeated while deflecting. This kind of sounds like it's the same thing where people are able to block while they're knocked down. I haven't noticed this issue when you're defeated, but I still think it's a big issue that if you knock someone down, they can instantly block back, which means that knocking someone down as a lightsaber wielder is completely pointless, because even if you follow up instantly with a lightsaber hit, they can still block it, which is quite frustrating, to be honest. And then we have Kylo Ren, who has gotten quite a lot of improvements here. First of all, they've increased his lightsaber damage from 100 to 125, and the extra damage from the back from 20 to 40. And they've also increased Kylo Ren's base frenzy damage on heroes from 80 to 125, and on troopers from 80 to 150. But on the other hand, they have decreased Bloodlust's extra damage on frenzy from 10, 20, 30, 40 to 5, 10, 15, 20. So the max damage will still be a lot higher with this buff, but they've made it so that you don't have to rely as much on the star card anymore. They've also done a bunch of bug fixes overall to Kylo Ren's frenzy with in regards to stagger, the targeting not working properly. Sometimes it looked like you could activate it mid-air and so on, so it sounds like it's going to be more reliable overall, basically. And then we have some fixes for Rey. Fixed an issue where targets affected by Rey's mind trick ability would be able to sprint backwards. I haven't actually thought about that. And then for Obi-Wan, they've actually added so that he receives 80% less damage while holding out to perform the all-out push ability, and I think that makes a lot of sense, especially now that Anakin is going to have that 90% damage reduction during 2 of his abilities, so very fair change. Fixed an issue where Obi-Wan's all-out push ability would be occasionally re-triggered by the player. I hope this is the cancellation issue, where sometimes when you hold down the ability, it will just cancel itself without letting you charge up, because in that case, thank you very much. And then some audio fixes to one of the emotes, as well as the voice being updated for the German version, which I saw a lot of people were excited to hear about. And then for General Grievous, they fixed an issue where he got pulled further than normal when affected by force abilities, as well as the fact that the stamina bar for lightsaber heroes would not deplete when blocking General Grievous' unrelenting advance ability, and they added an eye animation to Grievous when viewing him on the appearance screen. I didn't even realize that was necessary, but sure. And then moving on to Han Solo, they fixed an issue where the defeat card icon would not display correctly if a player was defeated by Han Solo's shoulder charge ability. And Count Dooku has had quite a lot of improvements here, one of which is that his attacks will now connect with the enemy better, allowing for more smooth movement in close range combat, which does sound very good. And they made visual improvements to the expose weakness reticle so that it is more visibly related to the ability icon. And they've improved some clipping issues with some of his victory poses, as well as his cape floating weirdly when standing over Han Solo's detonite charge or Lando's disabler. I actually didn't know about that. And also an issue where Count Dooku's VO would overlap with Obi-Wan's VO, as well as a couple of other audio line fixes. As for Vader, they have made improvements toward the issues with the camera shaking when a player was being choked by Vader. The camera of the target player being forced to look at Darth Vader when being choked was removed. Okay, yeah, that sounds good, because that glitch is quite annoying and has been since the launch, and that explains why it happened, if it kind of forces you to look at Vader. So right now it might be that if you get force choked from behind, you might actually not see Vader, which is fine, to be honest, and especially if it removes that bug. They also fixed an issue with Darth Maul where he was unable to cast any ability except chokehold when being pushed while using the spin attack ability. And then we have a bunch of game mode and map fixes here to like Galactic Assault for Jakku, Geonosis and Crate in regards to HUD mostly, and where the ATM-6 could sink under the ground, and some Evo count fixes apparently. I didn't even know they actively looked at that anymore, and some Kessel fixes for Boba Fett being able to glitch out, and a couple of map fixes for Kessel, Hoth, Kamino and Yavin 4. And then something that I think is pretty good here, that they've disabled squad spawn on all jetpack carrying special characters for all eras. I thought it was pretty fun, to be honest, when you had a teammate who was like up on a roof and you could spawn on them, but for balancing sake I totally understand why they removed that, because having a full squad staying up there just throwing grenades or spamming with anything pretty much wasn't the best idea. So that sounds like a good change to me. And here we have a fix that I've been waiting for so long. Fixed an issue where aerial troopers could occasionally reuse the jetpack boost with no cooldown if the ability and jump buttons were pressed at the same time. The problem here was that it wasn't actually used. It was like a small semi-functional boost, so this bug was incredibly annoying, or is incredibly annoying, And it was not actually present for all aerials either, so I really hope that this has finally been fixed, as it's been in the game since the launch, and I get annoyed every single time that I use the aerials in this game, or at least for those eras where it's bugged. So very much looking forward to seeing if this has actually been fixed now. Two more things here that I think is quite interesting is that they've actually added so that hit markers will change to yellow when you hit a weak spot on a vehicle. I think that's really nice, because it's basically like if you headshot someone, you get the yellow hit marker. If you hit a weak spot, you get a yellow hit marker. So very nice change. And they've also added so that whenever a teammate dies, they will actually show up as a red cross on the radar. A small but nice quality of life change. And lastly, under known issues, they say the following. Due to a late balancing change, the additional damage from Anakin's pressure star card applies only to the final strike of Anakin's passionate strike ability. The star card description currently implies that the additional damage is applied to every strike when using the ability. The description text will be corrected at a later update. So that's basically it for this update. Sounds like an overall good update, with obviously the main part being that you get the chance to play as Anakin and the new clone troopers, but also some good quality of life and balancing changes, especially to the stunts. And if you want to see the full list, including all the bug fixes, because I didn't bring up all of them because some of them were very specific about like polishing a facial animation for a specific character and so on, I will as always leave a link to that in the description below. And I also wanted to remind you yet again that I'm unfortunately away in San Francisco for another EA event during the release of The Chosen One, which means I will not be able to live stream. I do have some backup plans in the works to at least get you some videos, some of them from me, and also Ribatems might be helping me out with a couple of videos. But I won't be able to live stream until I get back on Saturday or Sunday, the earliest. So I'm really sorry about that. But once I can talk more about this event, probably in a few days, I will explain why I went there, and I think you guys will understand as well. But that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.